March 26th, Loren, Cunningham.
Do you want a farm? Buy a milk can. For Loren Cunningham, those words from God seemed out of context. Having grown up in the busy city of Los Angeles, farms and livestock were not familiar to him. He'd never even thought about it. Having a farm was so far out of his area of expertise, he started to wonder if he had really heard from God clearly. But God had told him he wanted to give him a farm. He had heard God speak to him directly many times before, and it had always turned out into something incredible. But he had already asked God where his first ministry school should be stationed, so if God wanted to give him a farm in Switzerland, well, he would welcome it. Everything he felt called to do in this mountainous countryside was falling into place. This new word from God was obviously another aspect of this ministry that they needed. So he sat in a quiet place and asked God for more confirmation. Loren was directed to a specific book of the Bible, a chapter, and a very specific verse. Flipping to James chapter 2, verse 26, he found it. Faith without works is dead. This was going to require action, he thought. The next day, Loren went to see a farm that was being auctioned, and he bought some barbed wire, a milk can, and a hay wagon. He saw these items and knew that he needed to buy them. He was walking in obedience to God, and God was going to give him a farm. After Loren bought the items, his students from the ministry school wondered what he was up to. They asked him, "Why did you buy a hay wagon?" And he simply told them, "It's because God is going to give YWAM a farm." Curious about this, one of his students, Jojo, asked him what that looked like for them, since they were all part of YWAM. He told her to go and seek God and see what he says. Being obedient, she took the week and she prayed about what God was saying about the farm. And by the end of the week, her confidence was soaring. She knew the school was going to get a farm. She told her parents her thoughts and what Loren had done as an act of faith by buying farm items. And now she too was convinced this was going to happen. A few weeks later, Jojo's father was chatting with a Swiss local when the man said these words, "I have this farm and God told me to give it to a mission. Do you know a mission that needs a farm?" Awestruck by these words that had just come out of the man's mouth, he exclaimed, "YWAM! YWAM! They bought a hay wagon in faith." This wasn't just any farm. It was a place where thousands would be filled with the knowledge of the Bible, living in the presence of Jesus, and given the tools to go into every nation and spread the love of Jesus. This farm was the first of many bases in YWAM that would disciple young people and send them to the poorest of the poor and to the ends of the earth. It became a significant sending center for the global ministry, and it all began with the words, "I want to give you a farm." So then, faith comes by hearing, and hearing from the word of the Lord. Romans 10:17. Is God asking you to step out in faith? Are you listening? It begins with simple steps of obedience. Do you want a farm? Buy a milk can.
Hey man, my name is Mike Mott, and today is March 26th. We've just heard the story of Loren Cunningham. You know, when I listen to Loren Cunningham's story and the story of his ministry, Youth with a Mission, it reminds me, it demonstrates for us what a life of faith really can look like. That believing in something that you can't see, that taking steps and not knowing exactly where your foot is going to land, but somehow knowing that God is going to be there when your foot lands, that he's going to take care of it. And I think that when we look at Loren's life, it's easy for us to imagine that he was more spiritual than you or I, or that his faith was bigger, stronger than mine or yours. And yet Jesus says to us the size of our faith doesn't matter. It's not like more faith is going to be able to do more things. A bigger faith is going to be able to do more things. In fact, he says the only amount that we need is a small grain, the size of a mustard seed. And that amount can move a mountain. That's a great challenge for us today, men. God wants to expand your faith boundaries. And are you willing to take that step to allow Him to expand your faith boundaries? What's that one situation in your life that feels immovable, unopenable, so broken that maybe even God Himself can't fix it? That's the thing that God wants to prove Himself in. And will you be willing to begin to pray and grab a small grain of faith to believe that He can change that situation? He can move that mountain. This is what God wants to do in our lives today, and this is our challenge for us as men. God bless you. Have a great day, guys.